and gentlemen, so welcome to today's performance of Matěj Číp. We're very happy to have him here. My name is Ivana, I work for the Czech Center, and it's great to see you here on such a beautiful weather, and we're very honored to have Matěj here, who will present himself and tell you as the evening progresses more about his work and also the compositions, and we have a premiere today, so enjoy it so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 16th Cimbalom International Performing Art Competition in the Czech Republic. Well, of course, we're not in the Czech Republic, but today we'll have an extremely rare opportunity to get transported to the Czech Republic thanks to this amazing tool called the Cimbalom, an instrument that has become my biggest passion, tool for meeting wonderful people, tool for challenging myself, and tool for my overall growth. And I will tell you briefly something about this competition, and I will guide you through the whole process of how this competition works. and why I decided to go to this competition in the first place. So this is the most prestigious competition in our field, in the field of cimbalom, which is itself quite rare, but now it's been increasing in popularity more and more. And this competition in Czech Republic is happening every 2 years. And now it's going to be my last time to compete at this competition. Because I said, why not? Why not to challenge myself? Why not to study new pieces? Why not to get new perspective discovered? And why not to do something that I love the most? So I put together a repertoire that is suitable for this competition. And this competition will have 4 different rounds. The first round will be a mandatory piece that all the competing performers will have to perform. This will be happening in between a wall. I'm going to be performing, there's going to be a wall, and the judges are going to be behind the wall. So they cannot be biased by seeing the performers, and they can only listen. They will all be familiar with the pieces, they will have the score, so they can exactly analyze whether it was exactly as it was. And I was thinking how to make it more personal for you, because I noticed many times if I go myself to a classical concert, I just sit through, and even though I get enlightened, I like that feeling, but sometimes I have a hard time understanding what's happening within the music, maybe hard time really focusing on the musical idea that are so beautiful. So I prepared something special for you, and we can try it as a little experiment. So I would like to turn you into these competition judges. I will give you pieces of paper, and while I'll be talking about it. And please feel free to jot down any ideas during my performance. You can also number it. There's going to be 4 songs, 4 rounds. So you can do 1, 2, 3, 4, and type anything that comes to your mind. You can be very critical, you can be very nice. It will all depend on you. I think I will let it pass. It might be a little bit faster. Here we go. And I think this might help you to get really a little bit deeper into that music. And you can also feel more focused and more focused about the ideas that you can hear in the following pieces. The first piece that I performed for you wasn't the piece for the competition. It was a prelude by one Czech Cimbalom composer, which I chose to open this evening with, because as prelude suggests, it's a piece that usually opens something. And I think it was a great start for this evening. And I also pass some of these. I'll give you a few, if you can please pass it, and we'll see. There we go, if you can please pass it, thank you. I hope we can have enough pencils and pens. We have all different colors and everything, so you can even draw if you would feel bored or if you would get some ideas throughout the music that I'll be performing. But I really hope that it can help you to feel a little bit more focused during the performance. And maybe you can discover some unique ideas, and then I'll be super happy to read through your notes. Yes, I'll bring more. And I hope we have just enough of everything. I'm not sure we prepared some papers, but it might not be enough. So yeah, please, you can pass it. Thank you so much. And for a few lucky of you, we were trying to get as many of these desks so it can be a little comfortable for you to write, but we don't have enough. But whoever is really excited to be part of this, I can give you the desk for sure. Yeah. If anyone else, I have still 4 more. All right. Yeah. Give it to you. Give it to you. Perfect. I have 2 left. Here we go. Okay. Perfect. I got it. So here we go. We can move on right into the first round. As I said, the first round is the mandatory piece that everyone will be performing. You can start with number 1, or you can just put any note, like the first round, or you don't even have to do the rounds. You can write whatever really comes to your mind. And this piece that I'm going to play for you is written originally for the cimbalom and was written by a Slovakian composer, which is really close from the Czech Republic. We used to be Czechoslovakia in history. And this composer was a composer of the 20th century, so quite modern composer. But when he discovered cimbalom, he thought it was a great instrument that he can use his specific language to express himself. And as you know, in Czech Republic, we have a very rich history of folk music. And cimbalom actually is often part of this folk era, of this folk style. So maybe in the piece you can hear some of the reminiscence of what folk music meant to him. But I will not tell you more because I think the music will speak for itself. So enjoy. This is going to be Suite for Cimbalom by Slovakian composer Juraj Pospíšil, and it's going to be specifically 2nd and 3rd movement of this suite. I left my mallets here. this was the first round. So I can tell you what the judges are usually looking for. First, they are trying to take a look where there's any mistakes, because we have to memorize all this repertoire. We have to make sure that we play exactly as it was written by the musical composer, ideally. And then they are looking at the expression, how expressive it is, how understandable it is, even though you can hear this music for the first time, but whether it makes sense for you, or maybe it's too confusing. Can you find some connections, some lines in there? So these are the things that the judges would be looking at. And you can take it on your own. You can either be very critical, as I said, or write any nice thoughts or anything really that comes to your mind. After the first round, there's going to be the second round. The second round is the Baroque period. The competition is consisted that way so they can really show whether the instrumentalist, the performer, can understand various eras and genres of music. Genres, I mean, it's all basically classical music, but eras of time. Because each time period, for example, the Baroque era of the 18th century, they were not as emotional as the pieces of the Romantics era, as you know, Beethoven, Liszt, lots of emotion, individualism. At that time, it was maybe much more fragile, maybe about completely different ideas. They were using many times different instruments. So the ornaments, the phrasing, how they developed the ideas were quite different from what we're used to today. So the judges will be also taking a look whether each performer can understand and can adjust to a specific style of music. And I will play for you a piece by this Baroque master, Johann Sebastian Bach. I'm sure maybe most of you probably heard about him because he's this key figure of classical music. But unfortunately, at that time, the Concert Cimbalom was not really known. He didn't know about it, and it wasn't existed yet. So he wrote pieces for different instruments. I chose a piece that was written for violin, specifically Sonata number 3 in C major. And from this sonata, I will play a piece called Fugue, the part called Fugue. And just briefly, I'll tell you what a fugue is, so maybe you can focus on these ideas that will be happening within the music. I would describe fugue as this kind of musical puzzle. There's going to be a main idea, main melody introduced to you, and then the composer will reintroduce the idea, will play with this idea, and will develop it. Will make it complicated, make it easier, turn it from major to minor, so he can kind of have fun with this musical idea. And he wrote it for violin, and as you can imagine, violin is also not like a piano where you can play chords, you can play so many notes at once. But even though he was trying to really achieve many voices happening at the same time. So you can imagine that he was using the violin almost like a small orchestra, where this line, this main melody, was being developed and introduced. I will just play you the main melody, so you can keep listening when I play later on, so you have an idea what this main melody is that he plays with. So first the major one. This is the first melody, and then later on you can pay attention because he will change it, for example, to a minor one. The minor one sounds like this. And you can go together with me on this journey of taking this melody and developing it further. This piece is very challenging because you have to pay super big attention to each of the melodies that are happening within the piece, but I hope that we can all together try to follow these melodies and enjoy this lovely and really great piece together. So Sonata number 3 by Johann Sebastian Bach. It's going to be Fugue in C major. Enjoy. Thank you. Thank you very much. So this was really a brain workout because there's so many possible ideas where you can take this simple melody and go a different route. But you're supposed to follow the route of the composer. But the ideas are so similar and intricate that it really takes the deep focus to go through this piece. But I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you wrote your notes. I hope you were critical and you had a great experience. We're going to move on to the next round. Now, we're going to get to the round that I was talking about at the beginning, the connected idea. We're going to get to the great romantics, to the idea of emotions, of individualisms, where we have so many big lines where the emotions are going up and down. And I also have to tell you that besides the mandatory piece, all of the pieces that I perform, I have the option to choose what pieces I will play. Of course, as I'll be performing in the oldest category, the most challenging category, I should choose pieces that are going to be challenging enough, that are going to be musical enough, so I can really show off my capabilities, I can really show off my musicianship. But as I have been living here for the past 7 years, for the past 2 years in New York, all thanks to this lovely instrument, by the way, but I can tell you afterwards, I was thinking what pieces I could select. And I would say that I'm mostly a very positive person. I like to smile, I like to experience joy, but as it is very natural for all of us, it's also important to experience the other emotions. So we can realize that happiness is not for granted, and then on the other hand, we can really enjoy happiness when it's happening. Because when the not good things are happening, it can be very hard. But maybe it's the ideal balance that we have in life that is so nicely planned for us. And so the next two pieces that I'll perform are going to be for this romantic round. The first piece is going to be by Czech romantic composer Bedřich Smetana. Maybe you heard about him because he is a very important key figure of the nationalistic Czech romantics movement. And the second piece will be by a Russian composer, Petr Ilyich Tchaikovsky. The first piece is called Longing. So you can guess that the emotions will be maybe quite heavy, maybe quite deep when it comes to retrospectiveness and really thinking. And I was thinking the longing for me, as I chose this piece, might be the longing from home, might be the longing for really figuring out why am I playing this instrument and what I really want to share by playing this instrument. And then the second piece is going to be Tchaikovsky's October. It's from this series of seasons, and he was cooperating with one of the Russian magazines of that time. And each month, he was publishing a new piece of music that was dedicated for a certain month. And this October song is also called the Fall Song, and it's full of solitude, full of the feeling of when we feel lonely, and where maybe we're also trying to long about something. So both of these pieces are very fragile, but very beautiful. So you can even close your eyes and imagine. First is going to be the longing. So maybe you can imagine what longing means for you and listen to this music. And the next song will be the October by Tchaikovsky. So please enjoy. Thank you. There was so much solitude for Tchaikovsky that even the very last note was just single note on its own. There was nothing else, just very one pure, lonely note. It was A that was sounding for you at the end. And now, if everything went well at the competition, hopefully as I perform today, even better at some aspects that I'm already collecting for myself when I perform, I would collect enough points and then I would get into the second round, that is already a selective round, where to this round there will be selected maybe last 5 of the best Cimbalom performers at this competition, and then they will have to play. There's this rule of 12-minute song that was originally written for the Cimbalom that has soloistic characteristics. It's either a concerto or like soloistic piece written for the Cimbalom original repertoire. And that's from one simple reason, because we as Cimbalom players, as you can imagine how rare this instrument is in here, especially here, in Czech is a little bit better, but we still don't have enough of original repertoire. It's one of our biggest downside, because when we play, as you could hear tonight, I have to play pieces from Bach, I have to play pieces from Smetana, from Tchaikovsky, but they didn't write for Cimbalom. Some of them were eventually aware of the Cimbalom, but at the time Cimbalom wasn't as established as it is today. So we don't have many original pieces, and many times we have to choose these, what is called transcriptions. And it's tricky, because when you sit behind the piano, you have the keyboard, you have all your 10 fingers, and you can really hear all the separate voices. But with me, behind the Cimbalom, with quite intricate layout, and I have only 2 sticks, I really have to make some tough decisions when it comes to what voice I'll play, how to use the sticking so I can really hit the right note at the right time. So it's quite a complex thing. But I believe that this is one of the factors that makes the Cimbalom player really fall in love with this instrument, because you really need to understand that. Besides that, you also need to tune it. Besides that, you also need to move it. You need to move it to 18 stairs up if you live in the 2nd floor in Manhattan right now. And it's not an easy task, let me tell you. But it's so wonderful and it's so lovely that I'm really happy that I can keep doing that. And opportunities like this, when I can share this music and hopefully receive some nice feedback from you after I collect the papers or even afterwards after we talk, I think this pushes me forward, and I believe it's super worth it. And we're gonna come to the last round of this competition, but it's not only a competition. This is actually a world-class opportunity, because right now you will hear a world premiere of piece that was written originally for the Cimbalom by a living composer, by a composer who is from America, which I'm super happy, because this is what I'm here for. I'm trying to spread this instrument with as many people as possible. I try to collaborate. I try to make sure that people are as excited as I am, and ideally new pieces can be written. And we have a great opportunity for the next piece that I'll perform. We have the composer present tonight here in this hall. His name is Kryszak. He traveled here all the way from Maine, and I would like to maybe invite him here to the stage to just maybe briefly tell you about this piece that I will play for you, then I will play for you, and then we can maybe have all discussions together and enjoy the rest of the evening. So please, Al, if you can come up and just briefly mention something about this piece. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it, and thank you for clapping before you've heard it, because that is the best way to do a premiere for composers. Like, before you heard it, you're really happy about it. I just want to tell you how rare it is to work with somebody like Matěj, because I work with hundreds of rejection. I can't play the music, we can't do it. There were several reasons we can't play new music, but Matěj is one of the new generations of very rare people who is not only tolerating new music, but he worked on this piece with me, because it was originally 35 years ago, and I played it as a solo for Nosferatu, the original movie, 1920. This isn't the transcription. I tore apart the guitar piece completely and rewrote the whole thing from scratch for Matěj. And don't be fooled by his peaceful demeanor, because he's kind of like if you went to confession and you confess and the priest is very nice and he says, "Oh, it's okay, my son, just say 146,000 Our Fathers." That was the process of editing. Like he'd say, "Oh, just have one more thing," but very politely, and there would be a list of like 17 things on one page. And what he did is he really perfected the piece, because when you're piano guitar oriented, like Matěj said, you don't think in terms of what the instrument can do, and you might miss opportunities. So when he asked me to change one note, one chord at the bottom of the whole thing, that was such a great idea, because the low A on his instrument means I could have a large range of resonance. And when I'm writing for piano, I try to get the whole entire Steinway ringing out all at the same time. And that's what Matěj was doing. He was perfecting the piece so that it would sound like it really was only written by a cimbalom player. So I can't thank him enough for that kind of dedication to it. And also just I want to thank Matěj because he's continuing something that the Roman Empire would be pretty angry about, which is that, as you know, as many people in here know more than me, Slavic, the countries we all come from, I'm Polish and Romanian. I thought I was Polish and Irish for a long time because of my mother, but that's a whole other story. But it turns out I'm Polish and Romanian. And Slavic, as you know, was from the Roman Empire, the Latin for slave. They assumed all of these countries to the east were made to be slaves, to build stuff for them. So the Latin version was turned into slaves, which English adopted and said, "Oh, slaves. We understand what a slave is." But originally, before Rome came up with that idea, slovo meant speech. And it had nothing to do with slavery. And it meant the common speech of all of those peoples from Macedonia up through Ukraine. And that idea is what I'm interested in that Matěj does, because he's proving that you can not to destroy a people and an identity. Whether it's Czech, Polish, Ukrainian, whoever, you can bring the tanks in, like 1968 in Prague, and you can tell them they don't have a country. 21 years later, Russia's gone. Soviet Union is gone. 1989, the Velvet Revolution. Czech is a people without any Russian, Soviet involvement. So Czechoslovakia is a survival story. And the last laugh on the Roman Empire is that Slavs doesn't mean slaves anymore. Slav means speech, which means free speech won. And Matěj is an example of free speech and instrument and identity winning. Wow.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that you chose to come to this event tonight, because I know in New York it's so hard to decide. There's always so many amazing options. So that much more I appreciate that you were willing to spend the time together. I hope you learned something about the Cimbalom. I hope you also fell in love, as I did when I was 7-year-old in the Czech Republic, and it didn't leave me until today. And I hope that we can see you next time on any events. I would also like to thank so much to Tereza Porybná, the director of the Czech Center New York, who was able to put this event together. And I hope that we can have more projects in the future, and I hope that this will just be better and better with everything that we do. And I will be happy to collect your notes after the concert. We can just formally speak, or not formally, like very casually speak. That's what I wanted to say. And enjoy ourselves. If you want to take a look at the Cimbalom, which I believe is a very rare opportunity, please come up. I'll be happy to share a few words, and then I'll pack up and I'll take a break, because in 3 weeks I'll be playing this in the competition in the Czech Republic, and I hope it will be amazing. It will be split into 4 different days, so each day I'll be playing different piece, which will be better because I have time to rest and recover. So thank you so much, and have a wonderful evening.